Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about each of these papers that were just passed out to you. I don't have a ton to say about any of them, but I have a little bit I want to go over on each one. So we're going to go over all of these papers in front of you. We're going to go over your homework from Friday, and then we are going to do a couple more IXL problems, and you will have homework today like Friday's homework. I'll take it. Okay. So first paper I want you to locate that should already be on your desk, a 6th grade weekly worksheet due Friday 1/27. It was the Khan Academy. Some of you have a score that is higher than 12, okay? I made it out of 12 points. I believe there were actually 13 questions. So you could have gotten a -1 and got a 12 out of 12. I gave everybody one freebie. But that means if you got them all right, I gave you 1/4 point extra credit. Okay, so if you missed one, you got like a -1 and still got a perfect score. If you got them all right, then you got extra credit. Okay, because there was one in there that I didn't feel was really a fair question. So usually if I feel, it's not that it was an impossible question, it was just a really tricky one. So usually that's how I do it. Instead of saying don't try it, because a lot of people got it right, I have you try it and don't tell you that I'm not counting it. So then if you get it right, you get a little bit of extra points. Parker. Yours was, I think I actually already gave you yours back because that was a late assignment for you, remember? And I think I graded yours right away and handed it back to you. And theirs were still sitting up here. Okay? Okay, the second thing, that's all I really needed to say about that. Second thing, FDP worksheet number 2. FDP worksheet number 2. There's a couple of them I want to touch on, and they're common errors, but I just want to make sure I point them out. First thing, and I didn't tell you this in advance, and most of you won't remember it anyway. Number 5. Number 5. Logan, what fraction does it give us for number 5? 14/18. And then it asks for the decimal and the percent. When we see 14/18, Kendall, what should our brain be thinking? It can be simplified to 7/9. Now, this is what I've never told you before, but this is why I pick some of these hard ones sometimes. Anytime the denominator is 9, it will always be a repeating decimal, always. 999, 999 will always be repeating decimals when you divide them out. So when you divided this one out, the answer is not 0.78. Okay, that is rounded. What is the answer, Reese? 0.7 repeating. And I know why people put that, because it's easier to write 0.78, but that's not the actual answer. Okay, on these, I always want the exact answer, and the repeating decimal, Paxton, you with me, is the exact answer. Now, I gave you this one as a freebie online when you typed it in, because this one we haven't talked about, and it's just a hard one. But we know enough, this will hopefully make sense to you. To change it to a percent, I'm going to write out a few decimal places. Okay, and really those 7s would what? They just keep going. So I could put a repeating bar over any of them. How do we change a decimal to a percent? Paxton? Kinley? 2 to the right. So 1, 2, so we're moving it right there. So really my percent is 77.7 repeating percent. Why can't we do that? Reese? Yeah, the repeating percent is weird. Repeating decimal percent. What did we do on the common ones? Cam? Yeah, we wrote the fraction that gave us 0.7 repeating. So on this one, what fraction gave us 0.7 repeating? Lena? 7/9. So we would actually write this as 77 7/9%. It's still ugly, but hopefully that process makes sense. Okay, that's the first one that we did that wasn't one of the common ones. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I talked about that one. And then number 11. And I knew this one would get you, even though it's not a super hard one. Different ways to go. If it gives me percent, I go straight to fraction. How do we change any percent into a fraction? Emmett? Put it over 100. So our fraction should have been 8 over 100. Not done yet, but what is that written as a decimal? Lena? 0.08. How do we say both that decimal and that fraction, Finley? 800ths. Now, is that the best answer for the fraction?
No.
What can we reduce by, Parker?
You can reduce it by 4.
Okay, I can reduce them both by 4, which would give us 2/25. A lot of people who miss this one, and again, you should get there either way, but they wrote 0.8 as the decimal, okay? Even though it's supposed to move 2 times, so that's where our 0 comes in. And also, what is that one? That's one we should know. What is 0.8? 80%. 80%. If you get an 8% and an 80%, is that the same thing?
Yes.
No, not even close. Okay, so again, I knew people would miss that one because you get lazy and you just add in a decimal point wherever. Besides those two, are there any of them you not sure why you missed it? I can work out any of them, but those were the two I wanted to talk about. Because these problems are not going away. This is going to be the first step of solving the problems we're getting to. Parker.
I had 100 on this, but on the quiz it said I had 2 wrong on them, even though I had to write the exact right.
So you didn't follow directions entering the repeating decimals, I believe.
No, one was a fraction, and then one was a repeating.
So I think it was,
I asked about that.
I think they were typed in incorrectly. So if you have okay written by some of them, that means the computer marked it wrong and I gave it to you.
Yes.
Is what I did.
Hooray.
Okay, next thing. The comparing worksheet that you guys turned in on Friday. First, I told you every single one of those should have some work, even if there wasn't much work. So if you got the correct answer and had no work, you got minus 1/4 of a point and it says NW for that problem. If you missed the problem and had no work, each one was worth 1 point, so you just missed the whole point, okay? On this one, again, there's a couple of them I want to talk about. I got to find them. Flip it over to the back side. The back side of the comparing fractions and percents. Number 9 was a tricky one. It gave us 16%, and we were comparing it to what, 1/6? Was it 1/6?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can change a percent into a fraction and compare, or the fraction into a decimal or percent. My suggestion is go that route. So 1 divided by 6. Most of you did your math correctly. You just did your comparing incorrect. So I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0. 6 goes into 10 once. Drop a 0. 6 goes into 40 6 times. That's 36. I'd get 4. Drop a 0. I'd get a 6. And we notice a repeating pattern. Okay? So really, if I wanted to write my decimal number, it would be 0.1666. I could write as many as I want. Okay? How do we change a decimal to a percent? Emmett. You move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right. 1, 2. So 16.6, and I'm going to go ahead and write it as repeating percent, even though that's not proper. Would you rather get a 16% on a quiz or a 16.6% on a quiz?
16.6.
Yeah, they're both terrible, okay? They're both terrible, but this one's slightly less terrible because it is larger. Now, there was one that we discussed in class that was hard to read. And then some people just didn't listen. So on number 5, it was 0.48, and we talked about that in class. So some of you guys, you put the decimal point in the wrong spot to start. Let's look at number 10. Number 10, right next to this one. Abby, will you read it to me?
0.5% and then 0.5.
And again, it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter if you go decimal to percent or percent to decimal. Why should we not have to put much thought into this one? Kendall, what is 0.5 as a percent? No. 50%. So would you rather get half of a percent as a test grade, which is less than 1%, or would you rather get a 50%? Both F's.
50%.
50% is higher. Okay, I think on some of these, you guys by this point were just tired of working. There were lots of goofy errors like that towards the end. Okay, any more? Like I said, I can work out any of these. Please stop. Reese, 11. Can you read me the numbers? 7 over 20 and 30%. Okay. I would change this one to a percent. Why would I get that one to a percent? Look at the denominator. What does the denominator have to be to give me my percent? What does percent mean? Okay, how do I turn 20 to 100? Times 5. So that would be 35 over 100, which is what percent? 35%. So then we can see that that one's bigger. Any others? Paxton? Number 5. And Paxton, you might have been one that didn't listen. Give me the numbers.
47%, 0.48.
Okay, was that where we said it was? Okay, 0. Okay, so this is one that it did print funny, but that's why we discussed it together to discuss where that percent sign or where that decimal point went. How do we turn a decimal to a percent, Caden?
Mine says mine says 0.048.
What?
Typo, Caden.
It doesn't say that. There's 2 decimal points because of that's why we talked about it. But that's why we had a discussion about it because it was a weird one. Brady? 2 times to the right. So that would be 48%. Okay, now here's something that it's a common error, so I'm going to show you my trick. A common error is forgetting, do I go to the left or do I go to the right? Raise your hand if that's something you kind of have to pause and think about. Okay, so what are our 3 forms of our numbers? What are the 3 forms? Kendall? Percent, fraction, and decimal. Okay? Who can give me those letters in alphabetical order? Brady. D, F, P. If you put them in order from in alphabetical order, if you're going from a decimal to a percent, 2 to the right. If you're going from a percent to a decimal, you have to move 2 to the left. Okay, so that's just kind of a trick that I used in the past to kind of help me remember if I'm moving to the right or moving to the left. But they have to be in alphabetical order for that to work. Okay? Any more questions over those? Okay, next thing, set all those aside. Open up your book to Friday's homework. Hurry up. Okay, number 1. Solve each problem. If you get stuck, consider using the double number lines. During basketball practice, Maya attempted 40 free throws and was successful on 25% of them. How many successful free throws did she make? So first I have to decide the numbers in my problem. Are they my percent, my whole, or my part? Emma, which one's the easiest one to pick out? The percent, because it has the percent sign. Then I have to look at 40. Kendall. It is my whole. Why? That is how many free throws she attempted. That's the total amount. So that is my whole. How can that help me? Or what does that tell me? What does that tell me about working out this problem? I have to be able to figure that out so I know where to set it up. Cam? That is 100%. My whole is always lined up with 100%. So above 100%, I'm going to put 40. So it says, and 25% were successful. How many successful free throws did she make? Where's my box? Where's the number that I'm looking for going to go, Briley? Yeah, above 25%, because I know the percentage. I need a number that goes with 25%. How can I figure that out? Lena?
I figured out what it was. 100 divided by 25. Like with that.
Okay.
And then I did that, like 40 divided by whatever that was.
Okay, because really, and you could have just focused on the top, because from 0 to here is 40. How many sections am I breaking that into, Lena? 4. What's 40 divided by 4? 10. That means each chunk is worth 10. So I'm going to go ahead and number them all. 10, 20, 30, 40. What would the next one be? 50 and 60. So what is my answer, Kendall? 10 free throws. Or she made 10 free throws. Hey guys, everybody just worry about themselves. For B, yesterday Priya successfully made 12 free throws. Today she made 150% as many. How many successful free throws did Priya make today? This one's a little bit weirder. We know our percentage is what? That we're looking for? 150. So I'm actually looking for that number. Where does the 12 go? This one's a weird one. Emma? It's not over 25 because this one kind of changes our thought process. It says Priya successfully made 12 free throws. Today she made 150% as many. As many as what? 12. So 12 is actually what on this one? This one was a challenge one. Kinley? 100%. Because 12 is 100% of the free throws she made yesterday. So this one's a weird one. So that one's 12. Callan, how can I figure out what each chunk is worth? You count up the sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we're counting up by 3. How many free throws did she make today? Lori? 18 free throws. Okay, and again, that one was kind of weird. Number 2. A 16-ounce bottle of orange juice says it contains 200 milligrams of vitamin C, which is 250% of the daily recommended allowance of vitamin C for adults. What is 100% of the daily recommended allowance for vitamin C for adults? This one's weird, but I know I'm looking for it because it says, what is 100% of the daily recommended allowance? Which tells me that's my box. If it's above 100, darn it, if it's above 100, what else does that tell me about it? Brady?
It can be broken down.
Well, that's my whole. I'm looking for my whole. Yeah, we can break something down.
It's more than 100.
The number it gives me is worth more than 100. Where do I put the 200? Go ahead, Brady. I think you're already answering the next question.
Yeah. You put the 200 over the 250.
Yeah, because they're saying I had 200 milligrams of vitamin C, and that accounts for 250% of the daily recommended value. So with vitamins, they give a recommended value. Are you going to get sick if you have too much vitamin C?
So you're gonna get healthier.
Yeah.
You could potentially, okay? But yeah, vitamin C is like it helps your immune system. So usually during cold and flu season, a lot of people take extra vitamin C to try and help them, prevent them from getting sick. So this is just saying this person takes more vitamin C than they have to, okay? And they're asking, what is expected? What do they expect people to take? So now, how can I figure this out? Avery, what do you think? Okay, how do I know what to divide by? Because that's where people get stuck. Because I have 200, we always find the first tick mark. How can I always find the first tick mark? Yeah, divide by how many sections there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So 200 divided by 5 is 40. So it'd be 40, 80, 120, 160, and then 200. Always count it all the way up just to make sure your math works out. So Maya, what is my answer? According to my 80. The daily recommended value is 80 milligrams of vitamin C. What was the other problem? Didn't you only have 3? 4. Okay. Number 3 was a review problem, right? Or was it not? No, it wasn't. Okay, this is one where you would have had to create your own double number line. At a school, 40% of the 6th grade students said hip hop is their favorite kind of music. If 100 6th grade students prefer hip hop, how many 6th grade students are at the school? Explain or show your reasoning. I'm going to set up my double number line first. I'm going to put my percents on top. 0%, 100%, 0. Do we know my whole or am I finding my whole? Do we know our whole or are we finding it? Briley? We're finding it because what does this 100 represent? Kendall? The part, the 40%. Okay, so now we have to figure out what we're dividing this into. I'm looking for my whole, so that will go there. How do I know what to count by? How do I know what to count by? Bryson, what do you think? How can I decide what to count by?
Dividing it by 5.
Okay, I just have to make sure I hit 40%. You can count by anything as long as you hit 40% on the nose. So could we count by 5s and hit 40?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Could we count by 10s?
Yes.
Could we count by 20s?
Yes.
Could we count by 25s?
Yes. No.
No. So you want to go as high as possible. So we would want to count by 20s. So let's label it 20, 40, 60, 80%, and then 100. My lines on bottom have to match. Where will I put the 100? Abby? Under the 40, because it's saying 40% liked hip hop, 100 students liked hip hop. Now what? Brant? Okay, how do I know I'm going to count by 50? That's why we're doing, because that's where we get confused. You're right, but how do you know you're counting by 50? Paxton?
Because both of them divide, 40 divided by 2 would be 20, so you do 100.
Yeah, I'm splitting 100 into 2 parts, so I have to be counting by 50. So 150, 200, 250.
I don't think I got that.
So 250 6th grade students. Or sorry, 6th grade students. So Paxton, if you didn't get it correct, what should you be doing right now? Okay, and because of time, I'm not going to go over number 5 because that one was a review, because we're going to go over what your homework is tonight. Tonight, you have a worksheet, okay, but the problems will look like this, and it would, so we're going to do a couple together just because it's the same thing, it just looks a little bit different. Usually IXL looks slightly different than our book in Khan Academy. So this one says, Gabe planted 15 sunflower seeds and 40% of them sprouted. How many of the sunflower seeds have sprouted? And it's saying pick the model that represents this problem. So it's saying one of these works. What's different about their models? Kendall? Okay, but I mean just like their models and the ones we've been drawing, what's different? Emma? Yeah, they're more of like tape diagrams, but it's the same idea. It's just they connected the top line with the bottom line, okay? But Kendall's right. The difference in the two specifically is one of them gives me 15 as a part, and one of them gives me 15 as a whole. So first we have to decide, he planted 15 sunflower seeds. 40% of them have sprouted. How many seeds have sprouted? Is that 15 a part or is it a whole? Emma? It is a whole. So Logan, if 15 is my whole, which of these models will I use? The bottom one, why? Okay, so on your worksheet, you will mark that one. That's the one we're going to use, or if you want, you can mark that one out. Do you need me? Hold on. Let me finish this one. How do we figure out what we're counting by? How do we solve this problem? Cam? Yeah, I know that's 15. I'm breaking it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So what is each section worth? 3, 6, 9, 12. What is my answer? How many have sprouted? Reese? 6 seeds have sprouted. Okay? So very similar to Fridays. It just looks slightly different. Reese, you have a question? No, it's a paper. It's a paper. Okay, let me stop this.